Hello and welcome to the Vail Daily's On the Hill. I'm your host, John LaConte, excited to be joined by Kenny Slaughter. We are standing next to Abrams Creek, which is one of the most pristine areas of the county, and that is evidenced by the fact that a extremely rare fish was discovered here recently. The only fish truly native to Colorado in the trout family is the cutthroat trout. And the trout that was discovered here is a genetically unique member of that family. They call it green lineage, from the greenback lineage of the cutthroat trout. It somehow has managed to survive a diversion that was put in 100 years ago. We're going to start walking to that area. Kenny's going to walk with us. This Abrams Creek is a small creek anyways, and it was diverted 100 years ago by a guy whose initials JPO the diversion is now named after. That diversion takes about, Kenny, is it what, 40% of the water out of the creek?
Yeah, approximately about 40% of the water, and our pipeline project's going to make that diversion a lot more efficient, to where we're not going to be losing water downstream due to ditch loss. And by doing that, we're going to be giving water back to these native fish, and hopefully in the future we'll have a more thriving environment for these guys.
So, right, that's what we are going to kind of get into. Is after JPO, what was his name? JP Olson?
JP Olson, yeah.
He hand dug this ditch, 6 miles, 7 miles, something like that. And that's what's been used to service the neighborhood, Buckhorn Valley, down in Gypsum.
For about a century.
Yeah, a century, a hand-dug ditch. This idea has been around for a while, but recently the political will and the motivation has been sort of realized to make the pipeline project happen. And the pipeline will make it so it's no longer a rudimentary ditch, but an actual pipe. So the neighborhood down there in Gypsum, Buckhorn Valley, will have the same amount of water, but the creek will have a lot more water. And this fish that has managed to adapt and survive for so long, unknown just how long, hundreds of years, maybe thousands of years, that fish will now serve as a sort of test fish for what may come our way in the future, as these fish are going to need to more and more adapt to survive. They think that this fish could serve as an example of a fish that is able to do so, to adapt into some really tough conditions. We saw that stream is pretty small, and those fish, Kenny, you've seen them. We just saw one in there.
Yeah, we just saw a few. They don't get very big. They're fairly small, probably the biggest one being 8 inches. And they've got a lot of cover in here. And so it's kind of hard to see them sometimes, but every now and then you'll get a glimpse. And it's a little bit like seeing a Yeti in the wild, wouldn't you say? As rare as these fish are, it's pretty exciting to see.
Yeah, I compare it to when they discovered that family of jaguars in southern Arizona.
There you
yeah,
go.
It's that rare. Yeah, and it really sort of reminds you that, you know, nature is able to adapt and survive. And as this pipeline project goes in, we're going to get into the more delicate part up here later this summer, and a lot of agencies are going to be watching this pretty closely, right, Kenny?
Yeah, we're going to have a lot of agencies, some nonprofit like Trout Unlimited and Colorado Parks and Wildlife are working together with our private entity, and along with BLM, Bureau of Land Management. We're going to be really overseeing this delicate part, which is going to be installing a fish screen here so that none of the native cutthroats can get into this pipeline project that we're doing. And so that's going to create a nice barrier so they cannot get into our pipe, because we don't want to send them downstream. We want to keep them where they're at. And yeah, so this will be the delicate part where we're going to really have to pay attention and make sure we don't affect that stream bed down there. And we're about at that 3/4 point now, to where we've got this small stretch left, probably about 3/4 of a mile. and then we'll have this wrapped up probably within a month and a half. So it'll be nice and smooth through here, and we won't affect that creek bed at all.
And run down some of the players who helped make this happen. We had to have cooperation with Forest Service, BLM.
Yeah, Forest Service, BLM. Like I said, nonprofit organizations like Trout Unlimited have really helped out with this project, and then couldn't have done it without the Parks and Wildlife and their backing.
And then the Metro District at Buckhorn Valley, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of a win-win for everybody. We're making sure that our water right is efficient as possible, and what that does is that gives back to the environment here. Whereas we don't need to take as much water because we don't lose as much water, and therefore Abrams Creek will be flowing a little bit higher than normal after this project is done, and that'll give more water back to the fish.
Yep, and ensure the survival of that rare green lineage fish. Yeah, so cool. Hey, Kenny, thanks so much.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, really appreciate you taking me out here, and thanks to you, the viewer, for tuning in to another episode of the Vail Daily's On the Hill. For now, it's John LaConte and Kenny Slaughter signing off, and we'll see you later.
See you.